In this episode of MCR Learning Journey, we are going to be exploring the MCR scoring card, and we're going to talk about it because I know a lot of people are eager and want to know how to play MCR. A lot of American Mahjong players are probably not going to appreciate this game or even attempt to learn it, but I do recommend that it is a very fun game. Granted, I'm in the learning process as well. But the thing with this game is that every year the card does not change. So if you do master all these scoring elements, which may look like a lot at first, but don't worry. In this learning series that I'm doing over the couple months, we should be masters by the end of it if you watch all my videos. So today we are going to explore this card, and granted, this card never changes. So it's like something like bridge, or granted, it's going to be a learning curve, but we all did the same thing when we started American Mahjong. So let's start off. So MCR is basically it's still Mahjong. It still uses the same tiles and everything, but the jokers are swapped with flowers. Now, as you can see, we're going to start with the bottom, which is the lowest scoring hands. In MCR, you need an 8-point minimum. The only issue that some people have in MCR and Hong Kong Mahjong and Ricci is when you have to get to that 8-point minimum, some hands may only be 4 or 6 points. So that way you'll have to build in more scoring elements on the card in order to reach that 8-point minimum. So we'll go through that today. So flowers are basically exchange tiles. If you draw a flower, you exchange the tile or flower for another tile. So basically, a flower is like a joker. You draw an extra tile. But the flowers do not play into your 8-point minimum, so watch out for that. They're extra points at the end. So after you reach 8 points, these flowers are bonus tiles, so they add up 1 point. These do add up in the end. So we're going to start off with one fawn hands. Basically self-drawn. If you win with the tile you drew from the wall, so self-drawn, you get 1 extra point. A single weight, and a single weight is basically when you're waiting solely for a tile to form a pair. Most of the hands on this card are called, there's punch, chows, and cons. A chow is a run of 3, so it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is an example of a chow right here, a 3, 4, 5. You can only chow from the person, or you can only call a tile for a chow from the person that is on your left. Basically, when it's their turn and they discard, you would be the one to draw after they discard. When they discard that tile, you can choose a chow and you won't get or to draw a tile. So you have to be careful with what you do, but again, that is a chow. And again, this kind of an overview of the card, and granted, we'll go through more of these in the live streams and everything, because I know this game is a little difficult. Granted, it is still for me, so but we're learning, and you know what? I think I am getting a pretty good edge. So we'll go back to the scoring elements here. So a single weight and a closed weight. So a closed weight is basically when you wait for a tile to complete the middle of a chow. Basically, let's say you have a 3 and a 5 and you need a 4. That's a closed weight. An edge weight is when you wait for a tile to complete the beginning or end of a chow. So that would be the 3 or the 5 dot. No honor tiles. In this game, honor tiles are winds and dragons. So if your hand does not include winds or dragons, you'll get an extra point. 1 voided suit. This should speak for itself. If you're playing a hand full of bams and dots and you have no cracks, that's a voided suit. And if you have no honors as well, that's 2 points right there. That can help you get to your 8-point minimum. Melded con. So in this game, there's a feature called melded con. So basically, if you pun, let's say you pun the 7 bams, and you draw the 7 bam, the last 7 bam, you can meld con it. Basically, you can hit con on Mahjong time, it discards it, and then it puts it on the con, or on the pun to make it a con, which is why it's called a melded con, and then you draw an extra tile. This is 1 extra point. So again, it counts for your pun for what hand you were playing, but it's an extra point, getting you to that 8-point minimum. 2 terminal chows. So terminals are 1s and 9s. So basically, a terminal chow could be a 1, 2, 3 or a 7, 8, 9. That is a terminal chow. And let's see, short straight here, and again, I'm still looking at these here. A short straight, is that even on our card? Oh, yes, it is. So a short straight is two chows running consecutively, making a six tile straight in one suit. So that could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in cracks, bams, or dots. Or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, vice versa. It's just six tiles in a run. And again, with this one, it's kind of interesting because if you complete 1 through 9, that's a lot of scores. So again, this is kind of your like these 1 point fawn hands are just to help you get to that 8 point minimum. You don't have to play them. And then mixed double chow and pure double chow. A mixed double chow is basically when you have two chows of the same sequence, which are the same numbers, so like a 3, 4, 5 in different suits. So you could have a 3, 4, 5 in dots and a 3, 4, 5 in bams. And then the pure double chow is the same suit. So when it's pure, it means it's the same suit. When it's mixed, it's double suits, or two or more. So then this is all simple. So it's hands formed without any terminal or honors. Terminal meaning 1 or 9, honors meaning winds and dragons. As you can see, there's no winds or dragons here, so that's 2 points. A concealed con is when you have 4 of a tile and you don't conceal it on the table. So that means you might have 4 9 dots in your hand and you wouldn't have exposed any of them, which is pretty hard to get. So and being only 2 points is kind of, a little light there for the risk that you involve by not conning it if someone throws it. Because you do get 1 point for a con, so I would definitely expose at that point. So two concealed puns, or when you have two puns of 3 which are in your hand and not concealed, or that are not exposed, my bad, that are not exposed. Double pun is two puns of the same number in two different suits, so that could be if you have like a 2 dot and a 2 crack and they're both puns, that's a double pun. A tile hog is when you use all 4 tiles of a single suit without using them as any kind of con. So for example, you have 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, and then you have 3s. Okay. I don't usually like playing this hand because I usually find other things. So I mean, maybe this hand's for you though. So I would definitely keep track. But as you can see with all these hands, they have combined. So basically, what combined means is that you can play it with another hand that's similar. But this is basically what the hand is made up of. It's made up of a triple chow, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, which is a mix because it's 3 different suits. So if it was the same 7, 8, 9 in dots 3 times, it'd be pure. And triple chow, and then there's no honors. So that's a lot of scoring element there. That's 1 extra point. And then I believe a mixed triple chow is, that's actually pretty, that is 6 fawn, so that's an 8 fawn minimum hand. Very nice. Fawn is points as well in this game as well. So then you have your all chows, which are basically every chow, and then the hands. Some of these hands on the card, I'm going to actually pull over here real quick. This is a Mahjong reference sheet, courtesy of Mahjong Central. So basically they have the basic gameplay rules on here, but also this is what I use. I printed out this sheet and I laminated it, and this is what I use as my scoring card because, it never changes. But as you can see, a lot of these hands there's some high point hands, but I usually never look at them because they're very hard to make. But I'm going to reference this for now because I think we got through the basics. So basically every category is marked by names. So if you have puns and chows, all types is a very popular hand. I really like this hand. So basically all you need is 4 puns or chows. So you can have 4 chows, 4 puns, 2, 2, 1, 3, anything. And you need a pair where each set represents a different tile. A set can be a chow, a pun, a con, and granted, let's say you pun a 7 bam for your 4 pun or chow minimum, and you're trying to get 4 puns and you con, you can still play this hand. Con is just added points. It's not like it doesn't affect the hand you're playing. And you need to have 4 different types. So you need to have cracks, bamboos, dots, winds, and dragons. So basically when you play this, I usually like to have a pair of the winds or dragons, and then I usually like to pun the dragons because when you look over here in the scoring, that's only a 6 fawn hand, and we need to get to that 8 fawn minimum. So that's why I look at the prevalent, seat, wind, and dragon pun, which is 2 points, so that would get you to your 8 point minimum. Usually the dragon pun is easier, but sometimes your seat wind is the wind that you're seated at, and the prevalent wind on Mahjong time is in the top right corner. A lot of people don't look at it, but sometimes it may match your wind, and in that case, if it matches the wind that you're seated at, that could be a double point. You could have a seat wind and a prevalence, so that's 4 points for the wind. So overall, that's basically why you want to pun these, is so you can get to the 8-point minimum. Now, if you pun a win that isn't a seed or prevalent, you're not going to get any extra score for that. So that's why that dragon pun is pretty essential. But this is a pretty popular hand. I played it a lot in the tournament yesterday, and I thought it was pretty easy for starting out. The chicken hand is actually, a lot of people you may see recommend that the chicken hand's easy. I don't think this hand is easy at all. Only because you can't be playing, it can't correlate to any hand on the card, and also you can't have any flowers. So that way, if you draw a flower, you're going to have to discard it, which, again, I would never recommend. So this hand is not as easy as people say. And again, we're going to go over most of these hands when we play in the lessons that I have planned. But yeah, so as you can see, this is the card. I'm going to link it in the video description. But there are a lot of scoring elements. It may look overwhelming at first, but you got to think about it. There's actually almost the same amount of scoring elements on this card as there is on American Mahjong, National Mahjong League card every year. And granted, we learn that every year, but this card's really easy to learn because you have basically like your upper, middle, and lower tiles are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's all you can play. So that's already 3 hands, eliminated. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's 1 through 4, 6 through 9, and then all with the number 5. So this hand may look overwhelming, but it's very easy. And granted, this column over here I never usually use because getting cons are very hard. On this card as well, you see exclude. I was going to talk about that. When it says exclude, it means that like if you play like a hand like this, it says excludes all triplets, because the all triplets hand relates to this, and when it says exclude, it just means that you won't get the points, so they don't add up. But some of these hands that don't have exclude, you can actually add points with, like this peer shifted pun. You can pair this with another hand for more score, which a lot of players do, and that's why this game is really liked by a lot of players, is the fluidity of point additions and the amount of possibilities you can play with your hand. I mean, granted, in Mahjong, in American Mahjong, if you don't have jokers, you're that's all you're looking for is the same tile in your suit or jokers. In this game, you can look for any tile and you can play with it. That's why a lot of people enjoy this version of Mahjong, and that's why they use it at the national levels and tournament levels, is because it is the most competitive game and it has the most amount of possibility for what you get in your hand. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, yes. So this one right here, last tile, we actually won on this last night, or yesterday afternoon on the tournament. But if you pick a tile from someone that discards it, and it's the last of its kind, meaning there's already 3 out, and that would be the last one out, and you win on it, that's 4 points. So that gets you to your 8-point minimum. At first, it is hard to get to that 8-point minimum, but I guarantee by the end, if you watch all my lessons, and, again, if you have any questions, comment down below. And we have a good community of people, including myself, who can probably help you answer that. But I'm enjoying this game overall, and I really think that it has huge potential, especially because I get a little tired of American Mahjong because of luck. And this game has some luck involved. Granted, every Mahjong game does, but I feel like this one has a lot more skill and a lot more flexibility with what you can play each hand versus American Mahjong, where you're set on one hand. I'm going to link both of these down in the description, so that way if you are a visual learner, you can see all of the tiles with pictures. And then I'm also going to leave the reference card down below, courtesy of Mahjong Central. In case you would like to look at this, and I would definitely recommend printing this out if you do play, because it's always nice to look at. And again, throughout this learning series that I'm producing, we are definitely going to be hitting on everything, and again, if you have questions along the way, please let me know, because Granted, I had a lot of questions during my live stream, and I got them answered. Now I understand it way more. So, again, yeah, if you have any questions, comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and turning on post notifications by hitting the bell icon and hitting all notifications. And this way, you will not miss out on my future uploads on MCR or American Mahjong. And then you will also be notified when I go live. Thanks for coming.